As protests are arrowheads disown Russian flags wavers. And that story then is on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And it's the banner headline there this morning. 1 trillion naira spent to fight insecurity in 6 months. 1 trillion naira spent to fight insecurity in 6 months. That's coming. That's a report there. You can get full details of that story on page 30 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And still from the Punch newspaper this morning, we have this one saying reps fail to effect 50% pay cuts. Reps fail to effect 50% pay cuts. You can get full details of that on page 14 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying varsities mobilizing unqualified graduates for NYSC. Varsities mobilizing unqualified graduates for NYSC. That's coming from JAMP. You can get full details of that story on page 14 of the Punch newspaper this morning. All right, still from the Punch newspaper, we have this one saying CBN OK's Unity Providus merger CEC review next week. Okay. CBN OK's Unity Providus merger CEC review next. That story is on page 20. Okay, it's on page 29 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have this one here, still from the Punch newspaper, saying Naira crude sale yet to happen. Operators. Naira crude sale yet to happen. Operators. You can get full details of that story on page 30 of the Punch newspaper this morning. 4 suspected cultists nabbed for killing Ogun Baba. 4 suspected cultists nabbed for killing Ogun Baba. You can get full details of that story on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Import duty waiver on rice. Orders begins next week. Import duty waiver on rice. Orders begins next week. That story is on page. Okay, that's coming from the federal government there, and the story is on page 30 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And that's all we have from the Punch newspaper. Moving straight to the Guardian newspaper this morning. With this one written boldly as a banner headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper saying FAC allocation, citizens wallow in mystery as governors cede duties to federal government amid 5.34 trillion naira cuts. FAC allocation, citizens wallow in mystery as governors cede duty to federal government amid 5.34 trillion naira cuts. You can get full details of that story there on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Okay, and you can also get some statistics and some analysis of how the FAC allocations were being shared, and then this infograph is on page and on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We have this one saying Falana backs military in denouncing protesters using. Okay, Falana backs military in denouncing protesters use of Russian flag. Falana backs military in denouncing protesters use of Russian flag. You can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We have this one saying Tinubu's dialogue call, ECOWAS tells protesters. Tinubu's dialogue call, ECOWAS tells protesters. You can get full details of that story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. After apology, APC to reinstate Ndume as chief whip. After apology, APC to reinstate Ndume as chief whip. You can get full details of that story on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And then we have this one saying CBN saves Unity Bank clears merger with Providus. CBN saves Unity Bank, clears merger with Providus. You can get that story on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And then we have this one saying our loopholes in Public Procurement Act nourish grafts. Our loopholes in Public Procurement Act nourish grafts. I can get full details of that analysis on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying Nigeria, other developing countries talk in middle income trap, says World Bank. Nigeria, other developing countries talk in middle income trap, says World Bank. You can get full details of that business story there on page 15 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying federal government inaugurates steering committee for digital free zones to boost global tech. Federal government inaugurates steering committee for digital free zones to boost global tech. Full details of that story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying OPAC, NNPCL and subsidized crude oil in refineries. OPAC, NNPCL and subsidized crude oil for refineries. That's an editorial there from page 12 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. And that's all we have from the Guardian this morning. Let's move quickly to the Nigerian Tribune this morning. With this one as the banner headline saying sponsors of protest on watch list, federal government says. sponsors of protests on watch lists, federal government says. And the story comes to the writer that says we have blocked external funding for protests as coming from IGP. And then we son saying we are after only enemies of states. We are after only enemies of states. That's coming from the CDS. And then suspension of duties, taxes on imported pharmaceuticals food will reduce prices. That's coming from CG of Customs. I'll take that again. This one the story says sponsors of protests on watch list. Federal government says, and the writer has some writers here that says we have blocked external funding for protests. That story that's coming from the IGP there. And then it's saying another writer to that story is saying we are after only enemies of states. That's coming from the defense chief of defense staff. And then another writer here is saying suspension of duties, tax on imported pharmaceuticals food will reduce prices. That's coming from the CG of Customs. That story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And then still from the Nigerian Tribune, we have this one saying Nigeria's reliance on crude oil. Nigeria's reliance on crude oil is a deadly mistake. Okay, Nigeria's reliance on crude oil is a deadly mistake. That's coming from Obasanjo there, saying Nigeria's reliance on crude oil is a deadly mistake. And the star story is on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And this one saying Heirs Insurance Group appoints Ibrahim Puri, Sony Iroche as independent non-executive directors. You can get full details of that story on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And we have this one saying CBN approves financial support for Unity, Providus Bank's merger. CBN approves financial support for Unity, Providus Bank's merger. You can get full details of that story on page 6 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Ondo we implement 70,000 naira minimum wage. That's coming from Ayedatiwa. Ondo we implement 70,000 naira minimum wage. Ayedatiwa speaking there. That story is on page 13 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. New FMCs in Ekpe Misal will have nursing schools. Okay, that story is on that's coming from the federal government there. And then that story is on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Ogun to conduct local government election November 16. Ogun to conduct local government election November 16. That story is on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Okay, this one is saying NAS Southeast Caucus petitions IGP over Igbo must go campaign. NAS Southeast Caucus petitions IGP over Igbo must go campaign. Can get full details of that story on page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Indume may return as chief whip meets APC National Working Committee. Indume may return as APC chief whip. Indume may return as chief whip meets APC National Working Committee. That story is on page 30 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Tinubu appoints new CEO for National Social Investment Program Agency. Tinubu appoints new CEO for National Social Investment Program Agency. That story is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And then we have this one, still from the Nigerian Tribune, saying violent protests in North, an attempt to create atmosphere for overflow of government. That's coming from Shehu Sani, saying violent protests in North, an attempt to create an atmosphere for overflow of government. Shehu Sani says money, Russian flags shared to youth. Can get full details of that story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And that's all we have from the Nigerian Tribune and also from the headlines this morning. Okay, let's check the Nation newspaper very quickly before we go on because we need to pay some bills now. Let's quickly check the Nation newspaper this morning. This one has a banner headline saying cost of living protest fizzles out in more states, Abuja. Cost of living protests fizzles out in more states, Abuja. Can get full details of that story by picking a copy of the Nation newspaper this morning. It also has some riders here saying Castina Kano relax curfew by 12 hours. Mobile courts remand 632 rioters. That story, like I said, is on page 2 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And this one is saying CBN OK's merger of Unity Providus Bank move 8 stability. You can get full details of that story on page 7 of the Nation newspaper this morning. Student top list of 4.68 million voters in Edo, Ondo polls. Students top lists in 4.68 million voters in Edo, Ondo polls. Agency will be free, fair. That story is on page 5 of the Nation newspaper this morning. 1.4 million jobs on offer from cotton textile sector. 1.4 million jobs on offer from cotton textile sector. Revamping process begins. That story there is on page 7 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And we have this one saying federal government inaugurates steering committee for digital free zone. Federal government inaugurates steering committee for digital free zone. And saying boost for global tech, finance services based business. Okay, boost for global tech, finance services based business. You can get full details of that story right there on page 6 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And then we have this one saying Edom, 4.3 million Nigerians get direct cash transfer. Edom, 4.3 million Nigerians get direct cash transfer. 1 million to benefit monthly. From that story there, you can get full details of it on page 4 of the Nation newspaper this morning. And still from the Nation newspaper, we have this one saying Insurance Group appoints Puri Iroche executive directors. You can get full details of that on page 7 also of the Nation newspaper this morning. And then this one is there's some stories inside the Nation newspaper saying that CDS, we are gunning for enemies of states. ECOWAS embrace dialogue with Tinubu. And then this one is saying the federal government places diaspora sponsors of protesters on watch list. Protesters march around Port Harcourt, and that's regards the banner headline here saying cost of living protest fizzle out in more states and Abuja. You can get full details of all of the story by picking a copy of the Nation newspaper this morning. All right, and that's all we have from the Nation newspaper this morning, and also from the headlines. Like I said earlier, we'll be going on a very short commercial break, and when we return, Newslands will continue right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. And do not forget, we are streaming live on Facebook this morning. You can watch us live on Facebook at omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. You can check us out on Facebook and also drop your comments this morning. We will read them when we see them. All right, sir. Without much ado, we'll be going on a short commercial break now. And when we return, Newslands will continue right on this dial, omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Do not go anywhere.
The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, made with the goodness of malt, milk, cocoa, and crunchy Niger-grown maize, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Break time is crunch time. So give your champs this delicious crunchy delight to keep them winning all day. Milo and a snacks, snack of future champions. Milo!
Hello?
Hello there. I'm at the hospital right now because the kills are seriously ill. I've been on a long queue and the doctor is here to attend to me. I don't know what to do again.
You know what? How about the numbers I gave you while leaving?
Oh, the e-Dokita numbers?
Yes.
Call them right away. They will attend to you immediately.
Hello? Darling, just like magic. Junior is playing. Even Princess is eating like an adult.
You know I've told you to calm down. Our family is covered with e-Dokita Premium Plan. With eDokita, you have access to healthcare at your fingertips. Stop wasting your productive hours while waiting in the clinic for doctor. Subscribe today to any of eDokita plans and enjoy online chat and call consult, laser therapy, medical outreach, and home care services. Simply dial 0704-714-2000 or 0701-000-8670. Log on to www.edokita.com or visit us at eDokita, number 2 Ocean Street, New Bodija, Ibadan. eDokita, inspiring wellness.
Hello, greet everybody for you.
My Sabi people, how una dey? Na Sabi people dey listen to Sabi Radio. Omoluwabi Radio 87.7 FM, na dem be Sabi Radio.
All right, you're welcome back. It's still Newslands right here on omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. And then before we went on that break, I told you we'll be going straight into the analysis of some of the stories that we have this morning when we return from the commercial break. And now we are back. And then, of course, we'll be going to straight to the analysis of some of the stories that made it through to the Nigerian dailies this morning. And of course, I have with me in the studio this morning, Professor Wole Akinyemi. Good morning, Prof.
Good morning, Tayo. Good morning to our listeners around the world.
All right, we have a lot of stories here this morning, and then topping flooding the front pages of all the newspapers is still our stories revolve around the nationwide protest, and then the issue of the Russian flag and the sponsors of the protesters and protest turning violent in some places in Nigeria. Let's check what some of the newspapers are talking or saying about these protesters, sponsors of protests on watch list. That's coming from the federal government, and then saying we have blocked external funding for protests. That's coming from the IGP. We are after only enemies of states. That's coming from the Chief of Defense Staff. And then suspension of duty taxes on imported pharmaceuticals, food, reduce prices. That's coming from OG Customs. That story there is on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And the Nation newspaper also reports something in that line, saying cost of living protests fizzle out in more states, Abuja. And then this one saying Castina Kano relax curfew by 12 hours. Mobile court remands 632 rioters. Can get full details of that story on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. Still regard that story, the Nation newspaper says CDS started talking about the nationwide protests. CDS, we are gunning for enemies of states. According to Nigerian Tribune, the ECOWAS is also speaking here. ECOWAS saying embrace dialogue with Tinubu. That's coming from the ECOWAS. Federal government places diaspora sponsors of protesters on watch list. Protesters march around Port Harcourt, and that's coming from the Nation newspaper this morning. Right, let's see what the Punch is talking about as regards to the nationwide protests. Russian flag, FG probes 4 northern political bigwigs, and then saying influential political figures from Kaduna, Katsina, Bauchi suspected of sponsoring protests. Federal government deploys operatives in Niger, Chad borders. Protests ROX disown Russian flag wavers. You can get full details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Right, Prof, let's start from the issue of the wavers of the Russian flag in a sovereign society such as Nigeria. Many are saying that this is uncalled for, and so many of the sponsors, the protest organizers, have come out to deny. Even as a matter of fact, the Russian government came out. It was reported in the news yesterday that they don't know anything as regards people waving the Russian flag in Nigeria during the protests. And then many are saying this protest is having some kind of international there's some kind of international coloration or some dynamics. Many people are coming with some idea, maybe that there are some sponsors from other countries that we don't know about. Prof, what's your take on this?
Thank you very much. We have to admit that we have serious cultural affinity with our neighbors. What is happening in our neighboring countries have very, very serious impact on our politics. And I'm talking specifically about the development in Niger, Burkina Faso, and some other West African countries where military government seems to have taken over government from civilian administration. And when you look at what has happened in those places, you find out that those movements, they were backed up by Russia. All of these states that we are talking about are Islamic states. Don't forget the activity of Russia in Palestine. Don't forget the activity of Russia in all the places that the Muslim world have sympathies for. So definitely the people or the sponsors of this Russian flag in Nigeria, they are bringing religious coloration into the protest. And it is a most unfortunate development. What this points out to is that there are some people that are very, very angry or disappointed with this government, maybe because they lost elections, maybe because for one reason or the other they believe that the Southerners should not be given an opportunity to become the president of Nigeria. Why do I say that? Because this same set of people are in Nigeria for the 8 years of a low cost of the ex-president Muhammad Buhari, and they didn't raise a voice. So I don't know what Nigeria needs to do to find this kind of a sickening bigotry. I'm sure Mr. President referred to it in his address to the nation. So it is a very, very serious development, and I expect the security organization to take it with all the seriousness it deserves.
All right, still talking about the issue of the seriousness it deserves at this point in time. Just like Prof said, the federal government should give it serious attention, and then perpetrators should be brought to book. And then we have this one coming from from the Punch newspaper, saying influential political figures from Kaduna, Katsina, Bauchi suspected of sponsoring protests. And then we also have this one saying FG deploy operatives in Niger, Chad borders. Just like Prof have said, we should be wary of some activities coming from the neighboring countries. Prof, the federal government has already deployed operatives into the Niger and Chad borders as we speak. And they are saying some influential political figures from Katsina and Kaduna and Bauchi are suspected to be sponsoring the protests up north. What's your take on this, since the federal government is up and doing already?
Nigeria is sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Why do I say that? Majority of the people you see on Ibadan street riding Okada are not even Nigerians, but we don't know the difference. We just say, oh, they are Hausa. Majority of them are Nigerians. That is, they are from Niger, from Niger. I mean, some of them are even from Chad, So what happens is that the person living in Katsina State, Kano, Borno, and the rest of it, they have religious, cultural, social affinity with these neighboring countries. They see them more as their brothers than the person living in Akwa Ibom or living in Oyo State or living in Osun. That is the reality of the situation that we have found ourselves. And it is the British that created this problem for Nigeria, because they just came and brought some different ethnic nationalities and matched them to become nations, forced them. I think that's the word to use. Forced them to become nations. So it is because all of these things that you are saying is because that matching is not working. And people tend to be going their separate ways, So all of these things are trying to articulate unity. Our unity is uncompromised, or it's not negotiable, and all of that. It's just rhetorics. The situation on the ground today is that some people in the far north, they feel more comfortable with people from Chad, with people from Borno State, with people from Niger Republic. So that is the reality on the ground. And our security operatives must take careful note of this. Just imagine, if there are to be any serious crisis in the south right now, we are virtually surrounded by all of these foreigners that are pretending to be Nigerians. You know what is even more pathetic? Majority of them are being hired as house help and security guard by Nigerians, not knowing that you are living with the enemy.
Interesting one there. Talking about security there, we've seen, just like you noted, many Nigerians hiring some of these guys as domestic staffs in time past, and then some tend to worry and say, what's the future of the Nigerian security? Is an average Nigerian man secured, so to speak? Because we just allow the inflow of foreigners just come into our country, and we don't even know where they are coming from. We don't know you don't know their whereabouts. You don't know their families. But then we just employ them. Doesn't that speak volumes to us as a people in Nigeria?
Well, I think it is the middle class that really needs to be warned, because majority of the people in the middle class are masquerading to be in the high class. But the absolute truth of the matter is the Nigerian situation is you either a rich person or you're a poor person. The middle class is totally devastated. And that's the reality on the ground. So all of those people are pretending to be high class when they are not. They should watch themselves, because what is the point? Bringing in domestic staff that will constitute security problem for you.
Let's take a quick flashback quickly to some event that happened just about 2 weeks ago. The mother of the daughter of Justice Jajimo Bubia.
Yes.
It was reported that it was a domestic staff that killed her, and they actually confessed to the security operative eventually after so much investigation and so much questioning. And then you start to ask the question, shouldn't we be weary of the set of people we employ as domestic staff at this point in time?
I think we should be extremely weary, because it's not only the case of the judge's daughter. There is the case of this Deputy Vice Chancellor of Ekiti State University that was abducted and buried
in a shallow
grave. And there is the case of one young pilot, a lady, that was murdered in her house. So there have been so many situations like this, and I believe that you begin to change our orientation. Train your children to be domesticated. It's not good for you to say that no, you are living in a mansion and you are surrounded yourself with domestic staff. These people that you have surrounded yourself with ultimately might be the ones that will compromise your security. And in most cases, they are the ones who do compromise your security. So these are things, food for thought for every serious-minded Nigerian, especially the elites. They want to be very, very worried about the kind of people they have around them as domestic staff.
All right, let's move on this morning. From this, let's check the story from page 14 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Some few weeks ago, members of the House of Representatives came out and said, "Who will be sacrificing 50% of our salary and our allowances at this point in time, just to reflect on the mood of the nation, just to allow the federal government to use that money for some other things, just for these old citizens of the nation to enjoy the dividend of democracy." But then, as we speak this morning, it was reported that the reps have failed to effect 50% of pay cuts. And Prof, we were talking about this just about 2 weeks ago. And I remember he said, it shouldn't just be on paper. Let us see it playing out on the street of Nigeria.
Yes, I predicted it. That is just playing to the gallery. These people are not honest. They are not committed to it. We don't even know how much they are earning at any rate, so we don't even know what 50% or what concessions they seem to be giving to Nigerians. And it's most unfortunate that till now they have not even implemented anything. So this to show you the kind of leadership that we have in this country. Honestly, it is not transparent. It is one that is shrouded in a lot of secrecy and is taking the followership for granted for too much. And it is things like this that make people to be furious, because look at how expensive our government is, and they are not giving us, they are not delivering. They are not delivering. What we just see all around us are people that are making life more comfortable for themselves through access to our common patrimony. Today, don't let us deceive ourselves. One of the fastest ways in which you can become rich in Nigeria is to be a politician. It should not be like that. I think political offices are damn too attractive, and it's not just the people in the Houses of Assembly or the parliamentarians, even the governors, the ministers, and the rest of them. Check these people. Look at their kind of lifestyle. It does not reflect the economic reality of Nigerians. And these are the people that are pontificating to Nigerians that they should not strike. It is most unfortunate.
Let's move away from that. Someone is speaking, and whenever this man speaks, many Nigerians will always react and saying, "You were there, what did you do?" And that's talking about the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, is speaking this morning, and he's saying Nigeria's reliance on crude oil, a deadly mistake. Nigeria's reliance on crude oil, a deadly mistake. That's coming from Obasanjo. And the story is on page 7. If you are interested in that story, you can pick a copy of the Nigerian Tribune and flip over to page 7 to read more. Obasanjo coming out to say, "Prof, our reliance on crude oil was a deadly mistake." What's your take on this? Shouldn't we have diversified even when he was the president?
If there is one Nigerian that has had access to leadership, political leadership at the highest level in Nigeria, I think it is retired General Olusegun Obasanjo. He had a total of 12 years as president of Nigeria, first as a military president, and then later on as a civilian president. In all of those 12 years, all of these things he's preaching, he could have implemented them. And it's because he didn't implement them, or his administration did not implement them, that is why we are where we are now. So he has lost all moral authority to pontificate on issues like this.
Yeah, President Obasanjo has lost all moral authority to pontificate on issues like this. That's coming from Professor Wale Akiyemi this morning. All right, let's move on very quickly because we want to touch as many headlines and we want to pick as many calls as we can this morning. All right, this one is coming from the Nigerian Tribune too, from page 11 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. talking about National Assembly Southeast Caucus petitioning the IGP over Igbo Must Go campaigners. The story goes like they say NAS Southeast Caucus petitions IGP over Igbo Must Go campaign. Prof, there's been this campaign on social media, especially on Twitter, as regards some certain set of people, some certain set of Yoruba influencers from the Southwest, so Yoruba social media influencers from the Southwest, part of the nation, coming together to say they want the Igbo people in the Southwest, especially Lagos, to leave. They are saying they are starting a protest from August 20 or thereabouts, and they are saying Igbo must go in Nigeria. Prof, should Igbos leave southwestern parts of Nigeria? Aren't we united as a people? Aren't we all Nigerians? Prof, what's your take on this?
Well, this is a very, very sensitive issue, but we must tell ourselves some very honest truth. Are the Igbos the only ethnic nationality in Lagos? Why is it that all the time it is always talking about Igbo living Lagos? They are not talking about people, Fulani living Lagos, Hausa living Lagos, Efik living Lagos, and other ethnic groups. It means that the Igbos must have been doing certain things that are not right. Take a very good example. If you host me, and I now begin to tell you that you are a fool, you're a lazy man, you are this, you are that, am I being responsible? Will you be inclined to continue to host me? They have called Yoruba all sorts of names. They have even claimed that Lagos State is a no man's land. They have said that they are the developers of Lagos. They have said all sorts of things to infuriate the Yorubas. They have said that the hard working, they are the ones that are building the economy of the place and the rest of it. I think it does not demonstrate sufficient emotional intelligence. Even if that is the reality, you must understand that a tree does not make a forest. The other ethnic nationalities that are in Lagos, they are also contributing visibly to the development of Lagos. You know Lagos very well. Surulere is peopled by the Efiks, and they have been there some of them have been there for hundreds of years. You have never had Lagosians having issues with the Efiks. Agege is peopled by people from the north. You have never had Lagos complaining about the residents of Agege. Some of them have lived in that place for hundreds of years. But it was that they came much, much later in droves to Lagos. After Lagos has prospered them, they are reciprocating with insult and the rest of it. That kind of situation can no longer be tolerated. As far as I'm concerned, I have more Igbo friends than even Yoruba friends. And I salute the courage, the smartness, the industry of the average Igbo man. But I think you should match it with emotional intelligence. Because you find out that the problem they're having is not only with Lagos. They had that same problem in South Africa. They have it in South Malaysia. They have it all places where they have gone to. So it's an attitudinal problem. They must change it.
We need to sit down and around the round table and have a conversation around this as a nation. Or what do you think as regards this?
No, we are already having that conversation. The absolute truth of the matter is that if Igbos have reciprocated the generosity of the Yorubas, we will not be where we are now. Most people don't understand that the late Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe won more votes in the First Republic in the Southwest. He almost became the premier of the Southwest. That is how accommodated the Yoruba person can be. I mean, as we are talking now, there are Igbos that are holding political offices in Lagos, permanent secretaries, commissioners, chairmen of local governments. Have you heard of anything like that happening in Anambra State or Imo and everything? Why do you want to asking for something which you can't give, a concession you can't give to other people? Why do you want to have it? And then when you even have it, then you now use your finger to poke the eyes of your benefactor. I think it's totally irresponsible.
Totally irresponsible. And some few days ago, some Igbo group came out and said, maybe let's have a referendum as regards Nigeria's unity. Let's talk about it. Let's see if we want to divide ourselves into zones or regions, like we've always been saying, or everyone should just take over his own regions, and then let everything be fine with every region. So do you think this is high time for us to call a referendum?
That referendum is very, very important. Let me tell you something about the Igbo person. I'm just telling them from honest truth. Not that I have any ethnic bias or whatever. I respect the Igbos a lot because they are the true Nigerians. Ultimately, they are the people that you find all over Nigeria. So they are actually the people who actually believe in Nigeria unity. if you get to any village and don't find an Igbo person running a pharmacy or running or doing a okrika or whatever, don't stay in that community. It means that that community does not accommodate people. So what I'm saying therefore is that this their commitment to the nationhood of Nigeria. Let them demonstrate it with the right emotional intelligence and cultural intelligence. Is those of us in advertising understand these things. When we communicate, the language we use must reflect the cultural sensibilities of the host. That is why you don't go up north and then you go and use models that are nude or naked, because they will burn down this billboard or whatever, because it's offensive to their cultural realities. So these are the kind of things we are talking about. It is all over the world like that. You go into certain places and then you begin to put fingers at the eyes of your host. It is not the right thing to do. So let them change their attitude. Whether we have a referendum or we don't have a referendum, that attitude must change. As we are speaking now, how many people from the rest of Nigeria have landed property in the southern part of the country?
All right, interesting one there. Do not forget you can drop your comments on Facebook this morning. We are streaming live on Facebook at Omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. Omoluwabi, it is 7.7 FM. This morning we are streaming live. This morning at Omoluwabi, it is 7.7 FM. You can watch us live on Facebook and then drop your comments on Facebook this morning. And let's talk about this. And then it seems it's still all about the protests this morning, and it's all about governance and everything that relates to it. This one is saying violent protests in North, an attempt to create atmosphere for overflow of governments. That's coming from Shiv Sunny, and it's saying that money, Russian flags shared to youth. And then let's pick it from this point of him saying it's an attempt to create atmosphere for overflow of governments. Prof, are you thinking in that line too? And in the line of thought of Shiv Sunny this morning, he's saying the violent protest in the North is an attempt to create atmosphere for an overflow of governments.
An atmosphere for the overthrow, I'm sure, of government. That is what Shiv Sunny meant.
Oh, so an overthrow rather.
Yes, overthrow of government. So it's actually a subtle coup. What happened in the North. And you will see, for people who have been studying the political development and who wants to be very, very honest, I saw this coming. The moment all of them were going to ex-president Buhari to have meeting in Daura, I knew the storm was gathering. And it was one of the things that you have seen here is, you know, I've always said it here that 75% of the problems we have in Nigeria are created by politicians. And until we begin to wield the big stick, we will not be dealing directly with some of these problems. So I expect government at this particular moment to deal decisively with the sponsors, the identified sponsors of this protest. They are enemies of state. Because why? We are talking about hunger protest. People are going to vandalize libraries. They are going to vandalize research institutes. They are going to vandalize computer ICT centers, destroy government property and the rest of it. And you know what is fueling this thing? It is illiteracy, absolute ignorance among the majority of people in the look at the visuals, look at the video, it's all there. Somebody even had the temerity to steal the billboard of the signpost of a police station. I'm sure he wants to. I won't buy iron, I won't sell. That's the way he saw it. He didn't even know that it was the police signboard. It was taken on the street. That is how ignorant people are. And you know, the politicians, these same politicians that are using all these ignorant mosses all over the place, they are the people who refuse to educate these people so that they can be maneuverable tools in their hand for despicable things.
Interesting one there. All right, we need to go on a short commercial break now. When we return, we'll take your comments on Facebook. Definitely, you can see some of your comments already. Just go there and drop your comment, and then we'll pick some calls when we come back right here on the show this morning. Do not go anywhere. Still Newslands right here on Omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. We'll be back after this short time out.
Of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
Hello, greet everybody for you.
My Sabi people, how una dey? Na Sabi people they listen to Sabi Radio. Omoluwabi Radio 87.7 FM. Na dem be Sabi Radio.
will show you.
Junior, don't do that.
Sweetheart, no matter what you do, we show you love. So you can show more love to everyone.
Mom, how do you show more love to everyone? I will show you love.
Show some more love today with 4 more packs of your favorite Indomie noodles in Indomitable and Super Pack cartons. Also, each Indomitable pack is now 200 naira, while Super Pack is now 350 naira. So hurry now. Offer valid till stock lasts.
In any emergency, every second counts. The Nigerian Communications Commission brings you the 112 emergency toll-free line, available nationwide, anytime, any day, absolutely free. With just 3 simple digits, 112, help is on the way. Dial from any network at any time. No charges, just immediate response. Remember, the 112 toll-free line directly connects to emergency services. If you need the police, fire service, ambulance services, Federal Road Safety Corps, Nigeria Civil Defense Corps, and more. Because when it comes to saving lives, we're all in this together at NCC. NCC, connecting Nigeria.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in peak. Every move you make, Peak's got you all the way. And the peak goes on.
Power on every morning with our Peak Protein Breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak. Reach for your peak. The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
Alright, you're welcome back. It's the News Lens right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. And of course, we are still checking some of the headlines that made it through to the Nigerian dailies. And then we've talked about a lot of things. And I said you can drop your comment on Facebook. And when we get them, you can read them. You can also call us now to share your views and points as regards some of the things we've been discussing since morning, since around 7 a.m. You can join the conversation via the telephone. The numbers to call are 07047007999. 07047007999. You can also call us on 08053888933. 08053888933. Those are the studio lines to call to be a part of the program this morning. All right, you can also drop your comment on Facebook, like I said earlier. Okay, this morning. There's this report on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning talking about states ceding their duties to the federal government. Okay, the Guardian report saying FAC allocation, citizens wallow in mystery as governors cede duties to federal governments amid 5.34 trillion naira cuts. That's a report there. And it's saying despite increasing the revenue profiles of state governments from the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FACC reaching 5.34 trillion naira in the first year of President Bola Tinubu, the subnational governments seem to have abdicated their social contracts with the people, hidden under the failure of the center while their citizens wallow in abject poverty. Okay, I'm going to we have an analysis of that's here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, and saying total facts shared by states in last 1 year is 5.34 trillion naira, and he's saying states IGR is about 4.40% of FAC allocations. State IGR is about 40% of FAC allocations in last 1 year, and it's saying FAC allocations by geopolitical zones. It's written here. It's saying Northwest got 1.2 trillion naira, and then Northeast got 807.3 billion naira. And then we have this one saying Southwest got 1.1 trillion naira. And then North Central got 948.24 billion naira. And then in this place we have South getting 1.84 trillion naira. Southeast got 680.59 billion naira. And those are the FAC allocations gotten as regards the amount shared in the last 1 year totaling 5.34 trillion naira. But then let's talk about this. The Guardian is reporting this morning saying governors ceding their duties to the federal government amid the 5.34 trillion naira that has been shared among them in the last 1 year. Prof, what's your take on this?
I think Nigerian governors should be more up and coming. I think they should be more alive to their responsibility as leaders. I think it is unfair for them to begin to heap every blame on the federal government. If you look at the humongous amount that has been paid out in 1 year, look around you, even in your own state. Can you justify that huge amount of money in terms of a delivery of infrastructure and the rest of it? It will appear as if the governors are so rich, they are so humongously rich, and they are presiding over very poor state. I think they should have more empathy. They should have more sympathy with people. I think they should be more responsive. You know, and that's not to say that there are not some governors that are doing very well, but generally speaking, I think that the governors have not performed very well at all. And I think Mr. President should be very, very bold to tell them this. You know, look at what happened with the issue of a local government revenue. Some governors mismanage these things and they paralyze all the activities at the grassroots. So, what are we talking about? I would think that governance is not just about going cap in hand to Abuja to collect money every month. Governance is about creatively, generating revenue. Even at your own state, there are so many things that states can make revenue from, and people are not even going to this area. Everybody is talking about oil. Each state has things that they can develop. Let me tell you what should be the blueprint for development in Nigeria. I think we should follow the American blueprint. If you look at America very, very well, you see that the eastern part of America is basically for finance, high tech, education, real estate, banking, and all of that. If you look at the eastern part of that country, you see that it's a kind of entertainment hub. Nollywood, all of that is there. Right in the desert, you have this city there. We are that is good for lottery and entertainment, and the rest of it have Las Vegas. So you come down to the south there, you find out that so we should begin to create such hubs around Nigeria. In America, people don't talk about federal government allocation. Each state is very, very rich. I read somewhere that the budget of the New York City fire service is so bigger than the budget of Nigeria, and it is the mayor of New York that is dispensing that budget. So what are we talking about? We cannot continue to be managing poverty. We should find ways of creatively increasing our revenue without hurting the people. It is this fixed notion that it is only oil that can make us to survive. That is why we have not diversified to so many other areas where God has blessed us. I can assure you that even the abundance of solid material in Nigeria, if it is well tapped into, if it is well managed, it's even more than what we think we are gaining now from gas and oil. And what is more, gas and oil are depleting resources. They are not environmental friendly. As we speak, modern countries all over the world are thinking of alternative. They are thinking of wind energy. They are thinking of electricity energy. They are thinking of water energy.
All right, okay. We need to pick calls now. You can drop your comments on Facebook. I'll read some of them now. And of course, you can also call us now, 07047 007999. 07047 Can also call us on 08053888933. All right, let's pick this. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where are you calling us from?
These are the Uncle from Muslim.
Okay, please make your point.
Yeah. Hunger is one of the genesis of the ongoing protests in Nigeria. And since there is an incessant attack on the farmers by the elders, and the federal government failed to do the needful on insecurity till it escalated to this level. So I will just implore the federal government, because I heard it on news this morning that there are insecurity, that they have spent over 1 billion or so on insecurity, but nothing to show for it. Which way to go? So I will just urge our own state government that they should do more on agriculture. So by giving more loans to farmers, and even giving them farm inputs so as to ensure food security in our state. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being a part of the program. You can join the conversation this morning. Studio lines are still open. 07047007999, 07047007999. You can also call us on 08053888933, 08053888933. Those are the studio lines to call to be a part of the program this morning. All right, let's read some comment on Facebook this morning. This one is coming from Emmanuel Chuku saying, good morning, everyone. Hope Nigeria is treating everyone well. God bless Nigeria. Okay, God bless Nigeria. Emmanuel Chuku is also commenting here saying, please let Mr. President say something on the issue of Igbos living in the Southwest. We all promise ourselves one Nigeria, to be united, not disunited. I like Prof, but aspect of the matter, thanks for being biased. Okay, this one is coming from Oluwaseun Root saying, good morning, Mr. Tayo. It's so unfortunate that APC-led federal government keeps tackling insecurity on the pages of newspapers, because imagine them telling us they have spent over 1 trillion naira on security within 6 months, which has not reflected in the nation, because this menace keeps increasing on daily basis. We employ them to rise up to the occasion to tackle this menace. And is saying which has made all the farmers to fled their farms by granting state police and even allow Amotekun Corps to bear more sophisticated weapons, because we can see the way Amotekun Corps in Southwest is complementing the efforts of the other security agencies. God bless Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. And then we have this one from Joseph Maya saying, good morning, Mr. Tayo. Well done for doing a great job. Since I joined this platform, I never see Prof sounding like this. Today, analysis seems to be different. May God help us. Live from Bauchi State. Okay. And this one is from Agbajo. Okay, can see you there, everyone watching there. Mr. Tayo and Prof, the issue of Igbo living Southwest is causing noise in my compound, though. Okay. You can let the conversation keep going on Facebook this morning. Unfortunately, we need to leave the program at this point in time. We sincerely appreciate everyone for participating. Drop your comment, let the conversation keep going. We want to read your comments on Facebook. Just let the conversation keep going on Facebook this morning at omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Sincerely appreciate everybody for being a part of the program this morning. A big thank you to you, Prof, for being a part of the program.
Thanks for inviting me.
All right, join me again tomorrow morning at exactly 7 a.m. on the program Newslands right here on omoluwabi 87.7 FM. And of course, right after now, Jonathan Ibileke will be coming on board to take us on into the world of sport on the program Sport Rave, right after which Kakaki Rowing will be coming on board at exactly 8:30 for the Yoruba newspaper review in our own mother tongue here in Ibadan. All right, so without much ado, until next time I see you. My name is Oluwatayo Ajiwole, and of course I'm signing out this morning saying enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.